Ruby Nanda, and all other esteemed faculty members, heads of department, and participants who are participating in this very very important conference organized by by the KIT School of Mass Communication. So well, I think FDPs have been the only solace during this entire pandemic period. We were able to, kind of acquire so much of knowledge through online courses and FDPs during this period. So always a pleasure interacting with research scholars and faculty from across the country. So well, this is a very important topic that you have chosen, that is media, new trends in media and media education. Let me start with the COVID situation itself to begin with, because much has changed. I would say that, like we used to divide human history into two parts, that is BC and AD, before Christ and Anno Domini. Now it should be, BC and AC, before Corona and after Corona. The world has changed like anything. So we need to, because technologically, media wise, it has changed like never before. I mean, come to think of it, I often say that in classrooms we had prohibited mobile phones. Children were never allowed to touch the mobile phones. Today, we encourage children to use the mobile phones. We tell the students to use the mobile phone, because that has become today, from 5-year-olds to 85-year-olds, or 95-year-olds for that matter, are now using Zoom, WebEx, Cisco, you name it, StreamYard. They are on all platforms, and they are connecting with their children, they are connecting with their grandchildren, they are connecting with families. Family weddings are taking place online. So many events, birthdays are taking place, social events, educational, of course, has gone online. So what does it hold for media? I think that what is seen is that you have a huge media exposure which is unprecedented in human history. You see, the exposure to media was confined first to those who are literate, so those who can read and write, so they would be reading newspapers and stuff like that. Then of course the radio was there, and people would listen to the radio, and that had people from across the spectrum. Then came television, which had its own limitations, in the sense that you needed, first of all, the affordability of a television set, and second was the cable and all other expenses. So radio was the only portable thing, but then that was totally under government control. It had its own, it continues to be under government control. I mean, so it had its own limitations, in the sense that while it did speak about developmental communication, it spoke about the farmers, agriculture, fishermen, all those things were there. But in terms of actual investigative journalism, in terms of a lot of information that is required, political and other content, was certainly much more, there was a lot of scope, and this was more of a listening kind of a thing. Now that is where the smartphone has come handy. Today it has become the symbol of an aspiration of the for every Indian. Only yesterday we had this news that Reliance is bringing 5G on smartphone, but at a very affordable price for every every person. So already Jio, you had seen that the way it has kind of spread the internet network in the country. We are one of the largest subscribers on social media. Indians are one of the largest subscribers on social media, and you see that everybody is now hooked on to the WhatsApp University, which is more popular than your KIT or Makhanlal, among the students also. So the WhatsApp University is from where you get all the gyan. Now, yes, it has democratized the advent of digital media in a big way, in a huge way, has certainly democratized the media platforms. So those stories which were suppressed or which were neglected are today getting to see the light of the day thanks to digital media. You are no more dependent on the so-called mainstream media platforms. You know, today the entire focus is on user generated content. So user generated content is huge. Now what is happening, we need to understand a couple of things with especially with relation to the so-called mainstream media. One, newspapers have almost wound up in the West, but in India newspapers are going to be there for at least, as I see it, the next 1 decade. It's going to be there, and it's not just going to survive, it's also going to make a place for itself. There are a couple of reasons for it. One, the Indian newspaper has diversified into language media like anything. So today when you talk about in newspapers in India, you are not talking about English newspapers. You are talking about language newspapers, whether it is Odia, Malayalam, Tamil, or Marathi, Bangla, you name it. More and more people are reading, news, listening to news and watching news on their language channels, in their language, in their specific language. So language media is going to see a huge growth. So what you are seeing today is that multiple editions and at district level is coming up like anything. So you have even the biggest newspapers which used to be only printed from the state capital or the national capital are now being published from districts, So the newspaper in India has started acquiring the shape of a community newspaper. Now this is important because in Australia, in Canada, you find that there is this trend of community newspapers. So community newspaper is something that is so these papers are now, yes, they have a national page, they have an international page, but then the focus is the local area. So they have become relevant to the local population. And the local population is also no more now interested in what is happening only internationally, globally, all that. They are interested in knowing what is happening in their neighborhood. Right? We want to know. And events like this pandemic has only accelerated that process. Today, for example, the reader in, say, Bhopal is interested in knowing that how many hospitals have the facilities so far as oxygen is concerned, so far as vaccination is concerned. They are more bothered about than what is happening in New York or in New Delhi. For them, the priority is what is happening in Bhopal. How many cases are being detected? How many Delta variant new cases have come up? What is the pace of vaccination? Are the markets open? Are the, So this pandemic has, kind of triggered, if I may use that term, triggered demand for local content, more demand for local content. Perhaps we were not so much, because we were living in an elite intellectual world wherein, we would be discussing sitting in a chai shop in Kerala or Odisha, we will be sitting national politics. But today that's not my concern, I would be more interested in knowing what is happening in Bhadrak or Baleshwar rather than what is happening in in Boston. That's not my first. Yes, I'm interested in knowing that whether some new vaccine has been developed or not. To that extent, I'm interested, but not beyond that. I'm not interested in what is happening between Biden and Trump. That is for me a last priority now. Now for me the first priority is what is happening in and around my. So there is more consumption of local content. So newspapers are language media. People are more going towards language media. So there's huge investment by whether it is channels or newspapers or digital media. You see huge investments in languages. That's happening. Now because my subject is also about media education also has to cater to this growing market. And that is why when I was the Director General at IIMC, I started language, I gave a major push to language journalism programs. We started Malayalam from our Kerala campus, Malayalam journalism. We started Marathi journalism from our Amravati campus, you know. And we upgraded the certificate program in Urdu to a full-fledged postgraduate diploma program in Urdu. Okay, we even started a Sanskrit course, journalism and advanced certificate program in Sanskrit. Because there were Sanskrit blogs coming up, Sanskrit websites coming up. So we thought that we should be grooming the people who should be there. So this is something that we need to understand. Okay. Now, television, the advertisement budgets, which are, pegged at thousands of crores. Yes, they did plummet during this corona crisis. But once the economy is back on the rails, you can see the budgets coming back hugely. Even today, 25% of the budget goes to the print media. Irrespective of the fact that we have written the obit of the print media, 25% still goes. And the digital media, which is so hyped up, it has to be, no doubt about it. But when you hype up something, don't say that you are going to write the obit of the print media. Print media is still alive and kicking. That's why I said 25% of the advertisement budget goes to print media. The digital media gets 28%, just 3% more than print media, right? It is the television which is grabbing the the budget, advertisement budget, the sizable chunk. It's 41%. 41% of the budget goes to television of all hues. There are over 300 news channels, over 900 television channels, entertainment, sports, lifestyle, you mix it up all. So you have these channels which are there. Now, imagine that, and then you have, so the print is going to be there, television is going to be there. So digital does not mean the end of the other media. That is something that we need to understand. That yes, it's like India. In India, even today you have bullock carts which are being used in the villages. And we are also sending satellites. We are also sending the Chandrayaan and the, and the Mangalayaan. But the bullock carts are also working at their own pace. So these things will continue simultaneously. So let's not, be in a hurry to write the obit of any of the media as yet. Okay. Now, so language is there. Now, another very important trend that I think we need to look at is that, digital does not mean that they are independent of, because we are talking about integrated newsrooms, we are talking about convergence. If you look at the statistics, you will find that the following or the subscription or the maximum hits that the websites, the websites with the maximum hits are not independent websites, but they belong either to big media houses, print media houses like the Times of India, or to channels like NDTV or Times Now. So you would find that it is the extension of the mainstream media which is getting the maximum traction even in digital media. It's not independent media houses, independent platforms. Yes, they are successful. Some independent media platforms are also getting a lot of eyeballs, but not to the extent that big media houses are able to grab. That remains. Now, again, we need to understand that there are new avenues in which media is now started looking at. For example, one thing that we saw after the radio, we saw the FM revolution. We saw everybody traveling in cars using FM radios majorly for entertainment purpose, to listen to songs. But once that, because of the COVID lockdown and all that, it stopped. One area which grew exponentially in the last few months has been the podcast, or what you call the audio streaming. So much so that whether it is Times Internet or HT Media Ventures, they are investing hugely. They are investing hugely there. And they are investing crores, several crores. Because they know that podcast is the future. People are tuned in to podcasts, whether it is related to adventure, mythology, spirituality, and there are individuals also, who are now become well-known podcasters. So podcast is a big thing which has now come. So that is something that we need to again understand. Now when we are talking about new trends, gone are the days when you had those huge brick and mortar structures, multiple story buildings with studios and all that. I remember when I was heading Doordarshan News, we would travel to different places. In television, you had to carry those heavy tripods, you had to carry those heavy cameras, you had to carry those live views, the backpacks, you had to carry DSN, you had to take along a journalist going to for a reporting assignment would mean you will have an OB van accompanying him, you will have crew, you will have camera, you will have light guys, so it's a crew which moves around, the DSNG vans and all that. All that has become thing of the past virtually. Today the best of television channels are just giving a smartphone. This is being given to their reporters, and the reporters are asked, record your story, do a live, transmit it, and use your social media platforms to promote it. Today the journalist is expected to do everything on his own. He is not taking a cameraman with him. And I am talking not about small budget television stations, I am talking about big budget television stations, because these are, today you have mobile phones with high-end camera pixels which are available, and they are good for even documentary shooting. That's the level of camera quality that you have in these mobile phones. So Mojo has become the in thing. Mobile journalism. Particularly during this entire pandemic, we saw a lot of people, particularly at the district level, major television channels asking their stringers who are only using, today when I go to the districts, I don't see cameras, heavy cameras. I see reporters only with these mobile phones. And they are recording and they are sharing it, they are relaying it to their headquarters. So mobile has become a very potent weapon. It is easier to carry and it is affordable compared to, earlier a handful of people used to be at the districts who had camera, and they would be working for 5 television channels together simultaneously. But today with a good mobile phone, you can represent a television network easily. Now, the new technologies are being utilized thanks to this. So that is where I see the positive trend. So in COVID, other than the COVID positive, there are also some other positives, and that example comes one from Odisha itself, and that was a beautiful experience I saw. Last year during the Rath Yatra, this year also the Rath Yatra is coming. Yesterday we had the Snana Purnima, and so we will have the Rath Yatras after the gods, overcome their fever, and once that happens. Now what is going to happen? Last year, around all the Rathas of Lord Jagannath, Balabhadra and Subhadra, we saw those tiny drones moving around, because Supreme Court had imposed restrictions. Now Supreme Court had imposed restrictions So there was lack of, the movement was restricted. You had very few people who were allowed. The cameramen were not allowed the way they used to be. There were very few people to, pull the ropes. So you saw all those small camera drones which were moving around these ruts. I could watch it from the television sitting in Delhi at that time. I said, look, this is the revolution that is happening. Today, whether it is a containment zone or a hospital or an area which is barricaded, a COVID hotspot, you don't need to send your reporter inside. You can send your drones and you can collect a lot of information. So technology has enabled you to get that latest information. Okay, this is one major trend that you see today, that more and more, I don't know why such a simple technology. I've been seeing it in weddings in Delhi for such a long time. Every wedding, as you will get to see these drones zooming over your head. But why can't they be utilized for journalism? They can be. But we never utilize them. But today we have started realizing the importance, and today a lot of people are following the pandemic, it's being used. So technology, these are trends that you see, in journalism. Now, so technology has made a major this thing. People are today, you have, easily, so you see a lot of platforms which have come up, senior journalists. I'm not talking about youngsters and all that. Senior journalists have shifted to, YouTube platforms. Many senior journalists who have switched over to YouTube platforms to say what they want to say. They believe that it offers them much more independence. It offers them much more space than a mainstream channel which has its own limitations. They are switching because today it is enabling. As for youngsters, okay, they may be investing money, but as for youngsters, you have everything out here. You have very, freely downloadable international quality studios which can be downloaded. You have download studio apps are there. You have editing apps, right from KineMaster to, both the paid and unpaid versions, they are all available there. You have, you can edit it, you can, record, you can put across a great video out there. You can, with a mobile phone. So, a new thing that is being seen, a new trend is the entrepreneurship. Media today, youngsters are not just looking for jobs, because the job market has got constricted because of the pandemic. So people are exploring new avenues to launch their own YouTube platforms, their own digital platforms they are launching. So from job seekers, the potential has now shifted to, so at my university also, I have renamed my placement cell as placement and entrepreneurship cell. So now we are grooming youngsters to, become entrepreneurs. Not just job seekers, but job creators. Now, again, another trend that you will get to see is that you are no more journalism schools, because I am talking about both media and media education, and both are intrinsically linked to each other. You cannot talk about them in isolation. So one is that they will have to cater to the growing language market and where it is going. It is no more, journalism is no more urban centric. Journalism is now shifting to the rural areas. There was a time when we could only, count people doing rural journalism, starting with P. Sainath, who was the rural affairs editor of, the Hindu. But today, you see a lot many platforms which are coming up, whether it is the Gaon Connection of Nilesh Mishra, whether it is the, in Bundelkhand, you have the Khabar Lahariya. You just see, you have more and more platforms, user-generated content, which is coming up at the grassroots level. So grassroots journalism is the new trend. you have more and more people who are shifting to grassroots journalism. You would have seen in mainstream media also. One of the, I would say, one of the highlights of the journalism during this period, two things which I really appreciated about media was that, one, investigative journalism is back. Today you see a lot of channels and newspapers actually doing data journalism, questioning data provided by various agencies, countering that with hardcore, information from the ground, from cremation grounds, from burial, so much so that many state governments have been forced to rectify the figures, correct it, and again, so they have been forced. Now this has happened because the journalists have been on their toes. They have been doing a lot of investigative stories about availability of medicine, availability of oxygen, availability, and they have been doing a lot of stories. Second, what I appreciated about this entire thing is that despite all the, the depressive atmosphere all around, in media what I found interesting was that you saw a lot of senior journalists, media houses sending their teams to the rural areas. Otherwise, it was a once in 5-year exercise, whether it is a state election or a general election. That is the only time when actually reporters will go to the villages to find out the mood of the people, which party is winning. That was all. Or else there should be some tragedy, some rail accident or some huge tragedy or something should happen. Otherwise, villages was a no-no, or a farmer suicide. But today, a lot of journalists are going to the rural hinterland to find out what has happened to the reverse migration, how the migrants are now coping with the new situation, what is the condition of the primary healthcare centers, what about the ASHA workers, how the schemes, the government schemes are working. These are now becoming part of the story. Now please, there is an economic angle to it. It's not just the journalism reviving its good old values. There is an economic side to it, and the economic side is that today the major brands are now looking for markets in the rural areas. They are now shifting to the small towns in a big way. You go to any town, say in UP or Odisha. I've been to so many towns in Odisha, and there I see the huge brands, the big malls coming up there. So today they are exploring, they are going deep into the rural areas, because in the rural areas, yes, overall, the scenario is certainly the economic, slowdown is there. But villages are no more the villages of the past. Today the purchasing power has increased. It's no more something new to see, an air conditioner in a village, or a car or an SUV in a village is not something. The roads may be too narrow for them, but I know villages where you have, and it's not confined to only the affluent families or the jamindars, so to say. Anybody with a job outside of the country or outside of the state or outside of the village is coming back and investing in his home. There are good buildings, good houses. It's no more thatched houses that are there, So the village scenario is changing. There is increased consumerism in the rural areas of the country, and the big brands are going down, and then that means they are investing in rural media, in media at the district level, because they have to get the eyeballs. So that is important. So when that is the case, so obviously the economics is driving a lot many newspapers to start editions at the district level, because they know that there will be advertisements enough. They are not banking on just the subscription, that I will sell a 30 rupee newspaper for 3 rupees and make it even. No, they have no illusions. Even in the districts, they are being taken care of by the advertisers. So the economics is changing. People are investing in rural media. This is something that we need to understand. Bidu, I do not know how much more time I have got. Maybe 5 minutes. Do I have 5-7 minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Because once I start, I can go on and on. I can beat Krishna Menon's record at the United Nations. So you need to stop me because there are other speakers also. One trend which is disturbing is, among all the lot of positive trends that I spoke about, is the infodemic. This overdose of information. Now this, the United Nations, UNESCO, UNICEF, everybody has flagged. This is as dangerous as the pandemic, if not more. Unlike the propaganda of the Goebbelsian propaganda during Führer's time or Adolf Hitler's time, this is no more confined to politics or ideology. It is directly impacting the common citizens, their health. For example, vaccine resistance. You see a lot of places where, even yesterday, today's newspaper in the morning, in Bhopal, I was reading that, some vaccinators were beaten up by some people. They were beaten up. I was reminded of what happened, when the pulse polio program was there. You had, in countries like Pakistan, they were shot dead because there was all kinds of conspiracy theories that it's an American conspiracy theory, it would impact the fertility of the future generations and stuff like that. And the same thing is happening, with regard to this also, that it will make you impotent, it will lead to impotency. All kinds of stories are being floated without any kind of attribution. You had this story that, you put 2 drops of lemon into your nose and you will get cured of COVID-19. Then you had this stupid story attributing it to a Nobel Prize winner that if you take a vaccine after 2 years, exactly after 2 years, you will die. So these kind of stories are good enough. Forget, I am not talking about illiterate, semi-literate people. The other day I was listening to Dr. Devi Shetty of Narayana Hrudayalaya in Bangalore. He was saying that his hospital is in Whitefield. Those of you who are familiar with Bangalore, very posh, upmarket, young crowd and all that. He said that my hospital is there, but I don't have takers for vaccine, 40% people don't turn up because there is vaccine hesitancy. People are saying wait and watch. Many friends of mine told me that, no, don't be in a hurry to take the vaccine. Let us wait. Stay at home, be safe. So now, if this is the level, that is because of the infodemic, the massive overdose of information. We have been bombarded, carpet bombing has taken place through every media, social media, digital media, all kinds of WhatsApp University. Now the result is that, there is the credibility of the news, that is being questioned. Which news can I trust? Can I trust this news? Now, if the credibility of the communicator is doubted, then that is the end of media, that is the end of, democracy. It's a big threat, it's a huge threat. The credibility of the media has to be maintained at any cost. So, and for that, the only antidote is to follow the basic principles of journalism. That is truth, accuracy, objectivity. These are fundamentals of journalism. This is not something new. You don't need to understand, rocket science too. This is basic truth, accuracy, objectivity. Fact checking, what is it? What is fact checking? It's about truth. It's about checking, cross checking, verifying, cross verifying. That's what we were told. Ruby, you remember in PTI. That's what we insist on. We have always insisted on. Opinion is different, but facts are sacred. The entire focus is on evidence-based reporting. So, when I was the DG at IIMC, we designed India's first public health communication course in collaboration with Oxford University, Thomson Reuters Foundation, and UNICEF. And we introduced it in a big way in our course curricula, and also we trained many people, journalists across the country, leading newspapers. Then we organized it at Manu in Hyderabad and other places. The whole idea is that evidence-based, now I have done it at my own university also. The whole focus is on evidence-based reporting. Once you talk about evidence-based reporting, it is very clear because this is about public health. So public health is going to be a major area so far as news consumption is concerned. People, yes, would continue to be interested in politics. People would continue to be interested in sports. People would continue to be interested in entertainment. But a major area now which is dominating, if you look at the last 1 year, if people were concerned, there are two areas which has grabbed popular attention. One is health, the other is education. And I see it as very positive trends for the society and the nation. If the popular, attention goes from entertainment, politics, ideology, that's all fine. But if we are able to focus our attention on the state of health in this country, the state of education in this country, if the people are able to focus their attention and then they start their expectations from our political leaders, from our public leaders, with these as the yardstick, that's going to make a huge difference. So public health, everybody is conscious what is happening. They want reliable news, credible news. They are interested in knowing that everybody is familiar with black fungus, white fungus, green fungus. Every home it is a discussion over dinner. Mucormycosis, these are become very common terms at homes across the country, in drawing rooms, bedrooms. People are discussing that, Remdesivir, containment zone, hotspot. These are become very common terminology being discussed. So people have become much more health conscious, And that is something that is good for media. And we should be looking at creating credible content on health issues and on education related, because education has been one of the victims. The brick and mortar education has been one of the victims. School education, higher education, they have all suffered. But then you have seen a major shift towards online education. But then at what cost? You had seen digital divide. You had problems with regard to that also. So people are curious about knowing CBSE results. When will the entire nation is hooked on? Have you ever heard that the Prime Minister of the country heads a meeting to decide on the CBSE results? Has it ever happened in the past? So much is the public interest, that the Prime Minister feels that this is something in which he has to take the initiative. Supreme Court directs the governments that you should ensure that the CBSE results are declared before 31st of July. This is the Supreme Court giving an order with regard to a class 12th examination. So education has come to the center stage, so has health. So now these are trends for which you would be requiring more and more credible content. So don't be pessimistic, particularly for the students. And those teachers, please tell your students that no, if you have good content, if you have language skills, there is a huge demand for content. So the consumption is going to only increase by the day. But you have to ensure your credibility, you have to deliver it in a very effective way, with truth, accuracy, objectivity as your mantra. Well, thank you. I think that I have taken more time than that was allotted to me, but I have tried to, condense my thoughts in as few words as possible. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
So, sir,